Our main aim is to actually find collaborators and those people who want to partner with us to amplify and also increase our works on the ground in the grassroots communities. Without resources, there is very little you can tell people not to do. Like, do not cut trees for charcoal, do not, harvest sand. But that's the resources they have. And they're not going to just watch trees growing while their families are going hungry. They're going to cut them down and burn charcoal anyways. But if you bring in sustainable means, like now creating these kitchen gardens, are removing the women from actually staying in the forest cutting down trees for wood and actually growing their vegetables. And they can use their vegetables and sell those out, surplus out. They have money to buy other things that they need. The gardens keeps them home. They don't have to go to the forest to destroy forests. But without growing anything, they have to go to the forest to find wood to sell. So these kitchen gardens is very important in dry areas.
I came across you because you did that podcast with Oliver. How did you meet Oliver?
During my my course at the it's called Ecosystem Restoration Design course, which was done by Ecosystem Restoration and Gaia Education. I entered the course to learn to restore degraded landscapes. It was basically meant to help us design a project or work on projects that are for restoration. But I've been doing my work with communities before the course. After I did the course, I finished, and then I found this project in West Pokot called Boma Ecologia. And so after that, that's when I started rolling it out to do restoration work in West Pokot. So after the presentation, the final presentation at the course, the few people that we did the presentation with said we can try to do something physically on the ground. So that's when the idea came in to start to do the project. And we founded the project, and then we started the work. We started it without any funding, so a little bit of help through the partners that we were studying together with. We established the CBO, the local organization. After we established the local organization, I went and met the community, and the communities shared their problems or whatever they were facing on the ground. There's lack of water, there's lack of pasture, lots of goats, starvation, lack of nutritional food in the families, households, no income. This place is completely out of nowhere. There's no electricity, there's no phone. You're off grid. It was a big challenge for me, and I'm like, how am I gonna start something and I'm not even sure how I'm gonna sustain it? These people are gonna be expecting a lot from me, and I don't have resources to implement anything. So kinda was a little bit worried, but the motivation from the community, I think, is what drove me to accept to start off, because they said, we're gonna work with you, we're gonna move with you step by step, labor. If we have to do something, we'll do it for free so that we can implement these things. So they volunteered as well to step in, and that's when we formed a committee from the community. And so we started analyzing the situation on the ground. What are they facing? What are the water challenges? How can they improve that? How can we start? What can we start with? So we started with at least a little bit of design, slowing down runoff through contours, creating contours. We got the school that is near the site said, we'll give you 10 acres of land as a demonstration site, so you can demonstrate what you're talking about, and then from there we can learn to do it in our farms. So the 10 acres are there. They were donated by the school. So I said, we'll start with introducing soil and water conservation measures. So I started training the community in how to plant vetiver, do contours, and then after that we moved to starting to do kitchen gardens. So we started showing now this. We sat down and categorized the project in different phases. So we have the women, we have the youth, we have the elderly and the men. And so we thought we will do projects according to these categories so that they benefit the entire community. So we started with the youth, training them in tree nursery propagation. Then I looked for partners who can help train, and then one project, World Vision, came in and said we can help train the youth. And KFS as well, Kenya Forest Service, said we can help train the youth and show them how to manage the nursery for a few months, and then they can take on by themselves. So we did that. We trained the youth in tree propagation, gathering the seeds, coming to pot. I bought materials from little resources from friends here and there. This place is about 3 hours from my home. Very bad roads. I don't have a vehicle. I have to hire vehicles to go there. And so it's kind of like challenging for me. So expensive. I have to wait until when I have money to pay a cab to take me there and bring me back. Like that. So every time I got some little money, I had to hire a vehicle to take me to site and come back like that. So during trainings, I could go and stay in the community, with the community for a few days and train, and then come back like 3-4 days or a week. We could stay there in the community, in their houses. They could host us, and then we could train them. Then we come back. So the the youth started, but the problem we got is they are volunteering to work, to pot, to grow the seedlings, and then they are not selling the seedlings right away, so they're starting to get tired, and the nursery is starting to become not reliable for them as a business. So they start abandoning the work, going to look for other ways to find money, and that's mostly burning charcoal, sand harvesting, wood selling, So that's easier catch. So to maintain them at the nursery was a little bit difficult, and so they stopped coming. One by one, one goes, another one goes, like that. We haven't gotten resources yet for that, but we are thinking if we get resources, we'll put them on a small amount of money, like daily fee, where they can come in and work, and then get a little bit of labor charges, and then they can use that for food. And once we sell the trees, then we can give them share the produce. Like the youth will take about 30%, the school will take about 30%, as the agreement we have, and then Boma Ecologia, the CBO, will take about 40% for managing the nursery and other issues. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm still applying for grants to see if I can get grants to help the youth continue running the nursery and propagating the trees. So the trees that we propagated in the first place in the nursery, we gave them to schools and to the community to plant them around their homes, degraded areas, so that was not sold. So we started donating to schools that are nearby in that area, and to centers and other public areas, so we can plant them during days like World Environment Day, World Forestry Day. We could bring trees and just get the community together to plant those trees. So it wasn't a waste, it was a good move, because at least the trees were planted in places where we know they could be useful. And so we came up with the women program. I started with 10 women to empower them in kitchen garden. So I trained the 10 women to become trainers of trainers. So in the demonstration site, we chose a place where we can put the kitchen gardens, and started showing them how to do half moons, hugelkultur, raised beds, sunken beds, all that, so that they can learn, and also planting diverse crop in same places, utilizing marginal areas, the permaculture principles, agroecology principles. So most of them are not schooled, so seeing for them is what makes them learn. Once they see what you're doing, demonstrating, and then they go back to their gardens and start doing the same, and they have achieved a lot of success. So they became trainers of trainers. So now they can go to the community and train others. So we got funding from Daughters for the Earth through Regenerosity to do kitchen gardens in every village in Kanyeros. There are 17 villages. So we did in these 17 villages, every TOT, the trainer of trainers, the 10 women, we chose 5 of them to become trainers of trainers so that they can now implement at least 3 gardens in 3 gardens in every village in 17 villages. So every woman had to choose at least, select those women who are willing to grow gardens. And then now we got about 51 women to come and train. So they came every day for 5 days to get trained on how to sort seeds, how to impress what seeds grow in your area, what seeds are fast growing, what is ground cover, what is long-term perennials and all that, annuals, all that. So we sorted them out, we showed them, and we told them, so this you plant like this you plant like this. So with the TOTs, then they went to implement. We gave them the seeds and the tools to go and implement in their gardens at home. So they all went and fenced off at least a small quarter of land. The husbands, we told them, you have to give your wives land so that they can produce food for your family. Most times men, because they own land, sometimes they just want women to look after cattle, like go to the forest and look after the cattle, bring it back home like that. But there's nothing you gain out of that, because when it comes to feeding the children, you are the one who is struggling at home with the kids. So these kitchen gardens really empowered them a lot, and they could attest, because they used to walk like 35 kilometers back and forth to look for simple things like tomatoes and onions and vegetables, cabbages, and so it was really tiring them, and some of them could just say they don't have the money to go, they can't walk that far, so their children could go hungry. But with this program now, they had a lot of small gardens that are vibrant and so producing a lot of vegetables. So neighbors, they could come in and buy, from you. Come to your neighbor, buy a few vegetables and something else like that. And now it's become like a big thing for them, because now they have food and they can sell the remnants to their neighbors. And they're feeding their children 3 meals a day, which is something that was very impossible with them. In this school, they have only 2 teachers, and so kids could come to school because they think they will eat at school. We have a feeding program sometimes in school, so they could come to school so they could eat. And when the school goes bankrupt and there's no food, then they don't come to school. But even staying at home, they're staying hungry because there's no food at home. That's why they came to school to eat. So we are producing this land the school gave us. We are growing these kitchen gardens, and we are giving them the food in the demonstration site. So that becomes their food. They can come there, get vegetables. We are also slowly creating a food forest. And then we are creating a crop area where we can just plant different types of crops on raised beds or sunken beds in a system or a synthropic system, whereby they can harvest this food in the school and feed the children. And we're thinking it's going to be very helpful for the school, because it doesn't really get a lot of supply from the government.
With the youth, when you talk about the nursery in particular and the youth needing money, um,
Mhm.
is it the kind of situation where if you had the money in advance, they would be able to get paid for their labor, and then that sum of money would actually get regenerated when the trees got sold or distributed?
First of all, where we are, I think the location also is not very favorable to us, because the roads are very bad. And so moving seedlings out of there to other regions would be a little bit hectic. And so we were probably mostly focused on generating the trees and selling them to local people that live around there. But I don't see the market within the local people being sustainable. So where you don't have to move trees far, is that's not sustainable. So which means we have to move the trees probably away from the from where we are towards probably the town and the counties, and probably that way we can be able to sell more trees and generate income. And we haven't been able to do that because, and also marketing the nursery, I think we need to market, to have a marketing strategy for the trees so they don't overgrow in the nursery. Trees are fast growing trees, and we're planting mostly pasture trees, and they're fast growing. And so if you don't get ready market within 3 4 months, then those trees are going to overgrow, so you have to give them away.
From an ecological point of view, I would imagine it would be better if the trees stayed local. So for the
That's what we
farmer,
hope for. We are dealing with a community that is completely poor, first of all.
mhm,
Yes, they have cattle, which they really, really adore. They don't even sell. So
okay.
they look at, they don't even sell. So what kind of food are you going to get from the community that is mostly pastoralists? We are trying
Mhm,
to bring them into farming, which is they are slowly adopting into farming systems. Most pastoral communities actually, they are for more their focus, main focus is on cattle, keeping a lot
mhm,
of cattle, and it doesn't even matter whether those cattle will be sold or not, but keeping a lot of cattle is their passion in their life. In their life, it's like their life. They just want to keep thousands and thousands of cattle. Sometimes they don't sell it, and then drought comes, and then it kills the cows, and then they start again, and then they start raising again. And even if you tell them there's drought, so let's sell the cows, they say, no, 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 I can't sell my cows. They'll survive, and then they die. So the cows to them are almost sacred,
mhm,
and they would rather give away their daughters other than sell cows. But in showing them how to do rotational, because what we want is to have a sound environment, ecologically and that is profitable ecologically to
mhm,
the community. And so you're looking at making sure there are no gullies in their lands, and there are no, degraded areas, so they can have ground cover and that can feed animals. And they don't have planned way of raising cattle, they just let them meander, and so
mhm,
that becomes, they overgraze, they overstock and overgraze. So that becomes a big challenge. And when you tell them you are overgrazing and overstocking, they still can't hear you because their cows are sacred. So we are bringing in small demonstration areas whereby we fence off the areas, we broadcast pasture grasses and pasture trees, and show them that you see how nice this place is with, I mean, beaming with all this pasture, is because the cows are not trampling everything and eating everything at once. So you need to, we are bringing in holistic grazing management system, slowly by slowly. So once one, we have demonstration areas showing that it's successful to do that, then they can adapt slowly by slowly. Pastoral communities are very, very hard-headed community where you don't just come in and give them direction and expect them to take it. They will not. So you have to come in a more, let's say, subway, like slowly, and engage a few people. And once they see the success from the few people, then they want to really adopt and also buy in the system. So that's what we are doing. Create demonstration sites. Create a lot of demonstration areas where they can, like a do it yourself kind of thing. Do it yourself kind of thing. So create those, many of those do it yourself kind of places where they come in, they see, and they say, okay, this looks something we can do, and then they go and practice. Yeah, they come in and see, they say, okay, how did you do this? Okay, I did this, I did this, I did that. Okay, so I can go and do it so as well. So they, that's how they adopt stuff. So
mhm.
like that, do it yourself kind of way makes them come and see and be impressed, and then want to know how you did it, and then you show them, and then they go and do it. So that's why we are creating these like kitchen gardens, these spaces for pasture improvement and holistic management systems where the farmers can paddock their lands and then rotate animals from one area to another until they don't exhaust the pastures. So that paddocking is coming in slowly by slowly, and they're embracing it.
And historically, in terms of land, because I know, like in England and places like that, there was the whole, there was an enclosing of the commons when all of a sudden this shared land became private. Are there obstacles in the sort of historical and cultural practices that would make
Yes.
enclosing land? Yeah.
Yeah, in most areas we have community land, and once the community comes together to agree to do that, and so because it's the communal land, then that's fine. But in areas where people own their own land, it's communal, but it's cultural land, so they have a right to actually fence it off, demarcate it, and fence it off. Then they have no problems with that. So we
Mm-hmm.
have areas where land is communal, and so you need permission from the entire community, including the local leadership, to fence off that land for the benefit of the entire community. Probably in these areas, I would foresee coming up with what we call grazing cooperatives, something like that, or associations, whereby they come together as a whole community in that place and choose a place where they want to do conservation and pasture improvement and paddocking and do holistic grazing. So they will all bring their cattle in there as a community within this period and rotate the cattle around. I think that would be beneficial for areas that are actually have communal land rather than yeah, rather than private land.
And as far as what would be most useful for you, I wonder if you want to just kind of list what you might like, what you might like to take away from Denver.
Well, I've never been to this conference. This is my first time I'm going there. And I don't know what happens after the conference or during the conference. I've been given 15 minutes to share about my project, and which is going to be mainly about women with kitchen gardens in drylands. And so here, this is just a video when we give seeds to women, we celebrate. Next slide is about who I am, and that's just me saying about my drive and what drives me. And the next slide is just about the challenges in arid and semi-arid areas, which is actually over 80% of Kenya's lands is arid and semi-arid, with degraded watersheds and degraded land, and climate variability and food and water scarcity. And this is a place where actually poverty is just beyond imagined levels. And so, what solutions do I bring into these areas? Mostly, we come in to show them how to control erosion, create ground cover, groundwater recharge, do propagation of indigenous trees, do beekeeping, things like those. And then we enable the women to do kitchen garden, food forest, do poultry, do syntropic farming. And then we bring in the holistic animal management, because all these areas, actually, most of them, like I said, are pastoralist communities. So the cow is more important to them than anything else they ever have. So we bring in silver pastoral, paddocking, pasture improvement, and that kind of stuff. And so here I've just put up examples of women projects in different areas that we have already done. And so I have listed them here, there, with the focus that they have, and the women that are championing that. And so I'm going to put up a link to maybe a video for about two projects here, and I can play that after I explain. And then finally, we come to this slide, which is going to talk about now resources, what we need to continue to grow. And then my final slide is about my my folk song in my cultural language.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm trying to think of how I can be most useful with this. I've been following a guy who does biomass sorghum. His goal is to grow it and turn it into biochar.
Anything that can make any biomass that can create biochar or create briquettes, that's very, especially in dry areas, that's very important for growth there, because if it's a fast growing biomass kind of product producing tree or plant, that will keep the production of the biochar or the briquettes, and that now keeps people away from cutting down trees and degrading the areas. The most important problem, I mean, the most problem that the dry areas are facing is ground cover. So we need a fast growing ground cover or pastures that can really grow fast on the ground to retain moisture in the soils. And then the soils can now generate more biomass. So, but there's no, because they have very little rains, and they have cows and cattle
Oh,
and goats meandering and browsing every single green thing on the ground. So they have trees, but they don't have ground cover. The ground is pure, is
mhm.
totally naked. That leaves erosion the biggest problem in dry areas.